Hello, everyone. Just want to say welcome. Thank you for everyone that's coming in. Thank you so much for joining our masterclass on VAWA tonight. All right, so we're just going to be waiting for some additional folks to join us. All right, just about 2 more minutes, okay? Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for coming in. All righty. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you. So as we wait for additional folks to join us, I just want to say thank you guys for, taking the time, to spend your evening with me this evening. All right. I just want to say thank you. We try, every month to provide some educational videos for our immigrant families, so that they can be aware, so that they could be educated as to what is going on, the current affairs, what they might be qualified for, based on their specific immigration situation. All right. So we try to hold these monthly master classes. We call them master classes because it's like an educational, segment that we share vital information on immigration policies and basically the laws and the rules surrounding, a specific immigration process. All right, that someone might be, able to use in their journey. All right. Okay. So tonight I want to talk about VAWA, and I want to talk about understanding VAWA as it relates to men. All right, understanding VAWA as it relates to men. Now, a lot of people might ask, what is VAWA? This four-letter acronym. What is VAWA? All right, and I'm going to jump right into that. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead, all right, and introduce myself. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. So my name is Sophia Curtis, otherwise called Bozlady Sophie, and I'm a global immigration consultant. And in my line of immigration, I work with men who are living here in the United States who have been experiencing hardship in their marriages to their U.S. citizen or green card holder spouses and need to navigate their green card process without the help or knowledge of their abusers. All right. So that's who I work with. Okay. And I just want to share that I'm not an attorney licensed to practice law. Okay. The information that I'll be sharing with you tonight on this platform, it is not legal advice and it's for information purposes only. All right. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. Now, what is VAWA? VAWA is, I love VAWA, right? VAWA is broad, it's big, and it covers so much. But let me just talk about VAWA as it relates to immigration, all right? And just a little bit of history on VAWA. So it was in the 90s that VAWA came about. VAWA means Violence Against Women Act. And it was, the Democratic administration, and we're talking about President Clinton, we're talking about now United States President Biden, who was a senator at the time, that brought, about VAWA. And VAWA means Violence Against Women Act. All right. And this act came about in the 90s to basically protect women against domestic violence from their spouses, right? Because domestic violence was so prevalent in this time, in the early 90s. Like, women were being abused by their their spouses, and basically they were getting away with it, right? There was not much being done to help these women, right? But over the years, this VAWA Act has been reenacted and reauthorized over the years. It has gotten much broader. and it, they were able to involve more, I would say, more people. And when I say more people, I'm going to be talking about gender. So when the act just came about, it was for women who were suffering, who were going through domestic violence and domestic abuse, from their spouses. But later on, they have reenacted and authorized it where men, women, and children who were involved in these domestic violence situations were covered. All right. Later on, it was covering different type of minority groups, the LGBT groups. It was also reenacted and reauthorized to include immigrants, people who came into this United States and were not US citizens or green card holders, right? But they were experiencing some form of abuse. All right. And when we say abuse as it relates to VAWA, we're talking about extreme cruelty, all right? And extreme battery, extreme cruelty and extreme battery. I'm going to get into that a little bit later on, what those two terms mean, right? So it was later on reauthorized, to include us, immigrants, people who are undocumented, all right? So I just want to share that tonight, that even if you're here in these United States of America and you are undocumented, all right, and you're married to a US citizen or green card holder, okay, you may be able to get protection under the VAWA Act, Violence Against Women Act. But even though it says women, men, and children are qualified, all right? I just wanted to share that with you. And I'll be taking questions at the end, okay? But just let me get through the presentation, okay? Now, let's talk about, like I said, who is eligible? Who is eligible under this act? Men, women, and children. All right. But tonight, I'm going to focus on tonight, our men. I want to focus on our men. And why is it important for me, for someone like me, to represent and empower and encourage and educate our men, all right, to get up out of this abusive relationship. All right. You don't have to stay. Get up, because you could still, still live your best life. You could still achieve that American dream. All right. So let's get into it. Now, we said that, men, women, and children are eligible for this protection, right, VAWA? Yes. So if you are a man, a male, living here in the United States, and you're undocumented, all right, and you are married to a US citizen or a lawful permanent resident, all right, you are able to self-petition if you could prove certain things, all right? Now, I'm going to go over that again. If you're here in the United States and you're a man, you're a male man, you are married to a US citizen or a green card holder, or if you are a child of a US citizen or green card holder, or if you are a parent of a US citizen or green card holder, and you are going through some form of abuse by these individuals, you might be able to file a petition under the VAWA Act. All right. Now, when we talk about abuse, sometimes men tend to shy away from this term, right? And I do understand, because man, they're macho, their egos and stuff like that. So we like to break down abuse, right? Now, men do get abused as well. And when I say abuse, I mean physical abuse. There are women who are living in this world who physically abuse men, just like how we have the men who physically abuse the women, right? So when it comes to this VAWA, when it comes to abuse, when it comes to domestic violence, I want to share and explain that, listen, it happens to both parties. It happens to both genders, men and women, all right? But you know what? Abuse among men, or domestic abuse, domestic violence against men, often tends to go unreported, because of course, if a man tries to go to the authorities, to the precinct, and report certain crimes against women or against their spouse, they're oftentimes laughed at. They're oftentimes taken for a joke, or them in their cells feel as, you know what, I'm not a man if I go to report that, my spouse has been abusing me physically, right? And sometimes too, they are afraid to report these crimes or these abuse. Why? Because sometimes they turn around and get retaliated against. Sometimes the female flip the script, and then the man get arrested for what, something that was basically started by the female, right? So a lot of times these types of domestic abuse and violence against men goes unreported because of, these types of outcomes. The man, they get arrested instead of the woman. All right. This has happened so often. So these types of things, go unreported, right? Now, when we say abuse, and this is how the law, this is how the U.S. immigration law breaks down this abuse for VAWA. It breaks down abuse in two ways. It breaks down abuse as extreme battery and extreme cruelty. Now, when it says extreme battery, it means physical violence, physical abuse. Someone push you, they shove you, they hit you, they use a weapon to harm you. All right? That's physical abuse. Physical abuse can also involve where they're keeping you away physically, keeping you away from your family members and your friends, locking you away in your home. You can't leave, right? This is also physical abuse. All right? Now, when we look at extreme cruelty now, we're looking at the non-physical types of violence. So we're looking at emotional and psychological. Now, think about emotional and psychological abuse. You're here and you're undocumented, right? Just paint this picture in your head. You're here, you're undocumented, okay? And you live in your house with your spouse, and every day they're frustrating you. They're intimidating you. I'm going to call USCI. I'm going to call immigration on you. I'm going to call, ICE on you so they could deport you. And sometimes because you're not doing some of the things that they want you to do, right? That in itself is emotional and psychological abuse, because now you're thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm going to get deported. I'm so stressed out. I don't know what to do. You're married to this person and they were supposed to help you, right? You fell in love with this person. You decided, you know what, we're going to move on. We're gonna get married. Um, you know, you have that discussion. I'm gonna file your petition for you so that you could be where you need to be here in the United States, right? But they turn around and they hold this green card over your heads, right? They threaten you, they intimidate you, they demean you, they stalk you. You can talk to nobody on your phone. If it's not them, sometimes a man can't even speak to other females on their cell phones because the women feel as though they're doing something that's not right. So it can be any little thing that they use to intimidate you, or just to get you frustrated, just making the relationship very toxic for both, right? So these little things in themselves, are considered or can create emotional and psychological abuse, right? It's how it's making you feel. Some people, they become suicidal because you know what, they came here and they're going through certain things. Sometimes even too, they have the lack of resources, the lack of funds, the lack of money. They can't leave the house. They can't go to try to find a job because this spouse is keeping them away from work, right? In addition, they go out to work. When they come home, they have to turn over all that paycheck to the spouse. This is financial abuse. All right? This is financial abuse. Okay? If you have to go out to work and every time you come home, you have to turn over that paycheck to that spouse, you cannot see none of your money. This is financial abuse. You cannot send money home back to your children. So you have children from a previous marriage, a previous relationship. You know, I'm an immigrant. I have to take care of my family back home. You know, you want to send, you know, some money for Christmas, for birthday, you know, and they don't want you to, you know, they don't want you to support your family in no way, shape, or form, right? How does that make you feel? This does create emotional and psychological abuse for someone, you know, that is in the situation, right? Sexual abuse, stalking, right? You know, making you do stuff against your will, running up your credit cards, you know, against your will, putting you in financial stress. All these are abuse, okay? And these comes under the extreme cruelty as it relates to VAWA. All right. So I hope that really, you know, kind of break down the different categories of abuse for you. All right. So now let's talk about some benefits of VAWA. What are the benefits if you should do a self-petition, right? And we call this a self-petition because you are doing it by yourself. And we say by yourself, of course, with, you know, the help of Bozlady Sophie, right? You're doing a self-petition because your spouse is no longer a part of this process. All right. So before it was, you know, you adjusting your status with your spouse, or, you know, you're adjusting your child over the age of 21 is adjusting your status. All right. Or your parent, if you are under the age of 21 and you're here, your parent would have been adjusting your status, right? So now when it comes to VAWA, there is no adjusting of status with that abuser. It's a self-petition. You're doing it on your own. All right. So let's run through a few of the benefits of VAWA. Now, VAWA, it gives you the ability to self-petition, right? And you know, you're self-petitioning for a green card. And hear this part, without the help or the knowledge of your abuser. They don't need anything to help you. They don't need to sign any documents. You don't need anything from them. All right? Meaning they don't need to be a part of the process, okay, for you to, you know, move forward with this petition. All right? Okay? Once you file, you're able to get a work permit and certain public benefits, okay? It also protects you from deportation, all right? And of course, there's a pathway for a green card. And after getting that green card and being a resident for 3 years, you could file your citizenship. You don't have to wait 5 years. Because even though you're not with your abuser, you do not have to wait 5 years to file your citizenship, all right? Okay. All right. So what are some evidence that we need when we're filing a VAWA self-petition application? We have to prove certain things, and this is very important, okay? This is where we see a lot of mishaps, a lot of hiccups, a lot of rejections, all right? We have to prove, we need certain documentation and proof for a VAWA self-petition process, all right? Now, first and foremost, you have to prove the relationship of your abuser. Is this person your spouse? Okay, we're gonna focus right now on spouses, all right? If this person is your spouse, of course, you're going to show that you have a legal marriage. And how you show a legal marriage, you must have a valid marriage license, a marriage certificate, all right? Based on the state that you got married in, you have to show that marriage certificate. Okay, so that's a part of the evidence that we collect. Okay, that you have to if they are not, if they're your parent, then you're going to have to show the birth certificate. All right, but for now, we're going to focus on the marriage. Okay. Also, you want to show the evidence of the abuse. You know, what type of abuse have you endured and have you reported them? Did you call the police? Did you have, you know, some form of police report? Did you have to go to the hospital? Right? Did you have, you know, any type of physical abuse and you had to go to the hospital? You had to get a medical report? Did you try to get therapy because this was so much? You know, you had to seek some kind of, you know, professional help to get you through this process, to get you through this phase, right? These are some of the things. Most importantly, you have to prove that that family member who is your spouse, they're a legal permanent resident or a U.S. citizen. You must prove that. You have to prove that. So you're going to need, if they were born in the United States, you're going to need a birth certificate. All right. If they were a naturalized citizen or a green card holder, you're going to have to show, you're going to have to prove. And there are many different ways how you could prove that. And that sometimes, we know that sometimes they withhold their documents from you. All right. But you know, we got to put some work in and figure out, okay, how we're going to prove this. There are some avenues and some things that we could do to find this information. All right. Now, last but not least, you as the petitioner, the self-petitioner, want to show good moral character. And how do you show good moral character? You show good moral character by having, you know, family members, friends, you know, writing certain character references for you. If you participate in any community organizations, they could write a reference. If you're employed, your manager, supervisor, employee can write, you know, a nice character reference on your behalf. You're gonna do a police clearance just to make sure that, listen, I don't have any criminal history, but even if I do, it's a simple, you know, nothing that will make you inadmissible. All right. What about filing your taxes? You've been here for 10 years. You've been working. You want to show the US, you know, immigration that, listen, even though I'm here and I'm undocumented, I've been working. I've been paying my taxes, you know, even though I don't have papers, right? I don't have, you know, the authorization to work, but I've been working. I got me an ITIN and I've been, you know, filing my income and paying my taxes. All right. Among other things. All right. So these are just some of the things that you could use, all right, to show that you're a person of good moral character. All right. Now, we're going to be looking at gathering the evidence. So you want to be smart about this. If you're going through abuse in your home, right, you want to make sure that you're detailing everything that happens. And we're not telling you to make up stories, right? Don't make up stories and don't lie, okay? We want you to speak the truth and only the truth, okay? So you want to keep like a detailed journal of stuff, you know, take photos, save your text messages if they're communicating, you know, nastily to you on text messages, in emails, you know, stuff like that. All right. Now, usually if you do like a video, that cannot be transcribed, you know, maybe, well, let me not say it cannot be transcribed, but if you have a video recording of what happens, that should be transcribed into text. Okay, but also you want to, you know, you want to identify the person in that video and stuff like that. So yeah, video is often good because it's really showing evidence, especially if you have to go to the police, but then the police can produce a report based on that video for you. All right. But other than that, you can use, you know, text messages, emails, you know, WhatsApp, however they communicate with you. If they're threatening you, you know, if you have witnesses, if they come to your job, if you have your neighbors, you know, people that live in the house and they've witnessed these type of acts against you, they also can be of you know, support and help. All right. So you want to save all your relevant documents and make sure that everything is in place. All right. And it's always good to seek professional help. All right. Don't do this on your own. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Now we're going to talk about the steps for filing for VAWA. Now, when we put a, you know, a properly packaged VAWA application together, we're going to be filing the I-360 and of course the 485, but it depends because not everyone can file a 485 with the I-360. It depends on the situation. So we determine at what point this is done. All right. So certain applications are not done. I can have a process and you can have a different process. But that's when you speak to us, the experts, we will determine how we will send this information in to USCIS. Okay? Now, we always want to encourage our family members, our men, all right? We know that sometimes you might not understand the process. You might have a fear that, you know what, she's going to retaliate against me. You don't have to worry about that because the good thing about VAWA, the good thing about filing a VAWA self-petition process, you don't need your abuser. They don't need to sign anything. US immigration is not going to call them for anything. You're going to be the first hand and the primary source for everything. Okay. Now, one of the other obstacles that we usually see is the evidence. Sometimes our men don't have the evidence. Why they don't have the evidence? They did not know that they could have done this petition on their own. All right. They don't have the evidence. They don't have pictures from the wedding. You know, they don't have anything to support this claim of a emotional abuse or physical abuse. Oh, you know what? I don't think I didn't know that I needed to do this, or you know what, I deleted all the pictures, I got mad and deleted everything. No, save your evidence. You never know when you might need them. Send them to a family member that you trust. Send them to your email. All right, so that you could have those in a safe place. All right, and you don't want to navigate this process without, you know, without an experienced immigration advisor. All right, you want to make sure that you reach out and you're in communication with someone that understands the process. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and I just wanted to add that, listen, everyone has a story and everyone should be able to tell their story. All right. And we hear these stories every single day. We sit there and we listen. We sit there and we listen. We sit there and we listen to these stories. And we encourage and empower our men. Do not walk away from your green cards. It could be 10 years ago. It's 10 years ago since you've been married. It's 15 years ago since you've been married. You have 3 children with this person and they don't want a petition for you. You've been living this life with them. You know, you've been working, you've been taking care of home, right? You've been the financial supporter, you've been the breadwinner. And look at you 15 years later, you don't have a green card. How fair is that? Right? So you want to make sure that you ask questions. And I understand that sometimes men, you know, they're the least likely to talk about their situations, but it's always good to seek. All right. Seek and we shall find. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Now they have different type of support for people of domestic that experience or go through these type of domestic issues. All right. They have the domestic violence hotline, they have shelters, they have support groups. I'm telling you, this VAWA self-petition is very, it's a protection that it's like there are so many different resources that are covered under this VAWA. All right. So I'm going to encourage you, if you are experiencing nothing as close to this, or know of someone that's experiencing, you know, who is experiencing anything as close to this, go ahead and let them know that, listen, there is help out there. There is help out there. All right. Now, I'm going to share my information here on the screen. Again, I want to encourage you to seek help. All right. Don't suffer in silence. Reach out to Bozlady Sophie here at Naava Tax and Immigration Services. Again, I work with men who are living here in the United States and you are going through some form of, you know, abuse, frustration. You're in this toxic marriage with your US citizen or green card holder spouse. They're holding this green card over your heads. You think you have no way out. VAWA is your way out. All right. Our contact number is 646-407-5253. All right. That is 646-407-5253. You could reach us on that's a direct line. Some individuals are only able to contact on WhatsApp. That's also a WhatsApp number. You could also send us a message, an email at info@naavataximmigration.com. And you could also visit our website and book a consultation with us at www.naavataximmigration.com. All right. I want to thank everyone for joining me here this evening. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for spending your night with us. So now what we're going to be doing, we're going to be, you know, our opening our Zoom, all right, for anyone that might have some questions for us. All right. We want to answer your questions, okay? And, you know, make sure that we're able to support you here tonight, okay? I just want to thank you again for coming on out and sharing your evening with us, okay? Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to say have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And we're going to be moving on to the question segment of this presentation. All right. Be blessed.